Thank you, Mr. Delabrosse. For sure, this is absolutely strongly needed in order to support the capabilities of our industry, and we are working closely together in order to support you in the definition of sound actions and provide you views on numbers in order to support this. Capabilities is a key item. How to access the market is another one. It can be a challenge for a company to express the benefits of the solutions they are developing. And this is why the Sentinel benefit studies that we mentioned already before, when you do not focus on the technical specificities or the economic aspect is sound for the user, especially when we talk with the public sector. When we look at the industry survey, we know all that the public sector is by far the biggest user of Earth observation solution. A really interesting point is that we can see a really big difference between the share from the public side on the European and national level versus the local and regional one. It can be difficult for local authorities, for example, to understand how Earth observation could be useful for them. Addressing the Earth observation benefits can be a really proper way in order to allow them to better understand how they can communicate on this toward their citizen, for example, toward the other industries they are linked with. In the next session, we will be glad to present and to have a panel in order to highlight the different value of this. STEP studies provide an approach which is quite unique, I think, still. It will look at the benefit that the data provide for local and regional users, and will be piloted by Jeff Sawyer, who is responsible for these studies, and my predecessor as the EARSC Secretary General. Welcome back, Jeff.
Thank you, Emmanuel, and good morning to everybody. It's a real pleasure to be standing here before you. And I put the emphasis on standing because I think for the last 4 years, this is probably the first time that I've been presiding or chairing, whatever word you wish to use, a physical meeting. Everything's been online. I've had so many meetings, 80 EO cafes, a number of workshops, many user meetings in the context of SEBS. And so to be here physically with you is a great pleasure. We're happy to organize this session as part of EXPANDEO this year under the umbrella of SEBS. SEBS is an important activity for EARSC. The project is just ending, but we plan to continue working on the subject. We'll explain about SEBS as we go through the session. It's organized in the context of what we call the transversal analysis, where we've looked across different results coming out of the study. And in this session, we want to look at that in the context of European, local and regional users. I'll introduce people later, but to start off with, I'd like to call Alessandra TASSA to the stage. Alessandra is the project manager for SEBS in ESA, and will tell you a little bit about the session and introduce you to the activity. Alessandra.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here today. I salute all the community. And it's a real pleasure to bring the constant support and interest of the European Space Agency for the community and for the EU downstream companies. I'm here today because I am responsible for the Sentinel benefits study, and I very briefly will try just to provide you some short background and recall the objectives. So to start with, the Sentinel benefits study is, the full name was that one that you saw there, and I tried to highlight what are the keywords that characterize the study. We are talking about bottom-up assessments, based on traceable impacts along selected value chains. Thank you. The project was received funding from the European Union as part of the Copernicus program, and ALESSANDRA is the prime contractor. The timeline is quite long. We started in March 2017, and in the frame there you find what are the key components, and the key deliverables from the project. So the backbone is a number of use case reports that really provide some interesting insights into different use cases. And they really provide the meat for the development of the methodology, because which is really rooted in these real life cases. You have more than 30 cases available on the web. And they tell the stories of public authorities, but also private companies, building on the use of Sentinel data, either directly or indirectly. Then we had a number along this time, we had a number of workshops. This is only the last one of a series. And there were some cross-cutting analysis reports, the last of which is the transversal analysis that Jeff mentioned, and which is proposed for a reflection today. Now let's come to the objectives. The objectives are to present and discuss the latest findings from this transversal analysis, reflecting on the benefits of the Copernicus-based solutions. As I said, either it can be solutions used directly from the public authorities or indirectly through the work of public or private service providers. And for three selected topics that are roads infrastructure management, forest management, and lake water management. And why did we select these three topic areas? Jeff will explain, but basically we could have chosen other different topics, and these shall only serve as example areas. The other objective is to reflect upon the challenges and the opportunities for the uptake of these solutions from the public authorities, and today it will be a reflection at the regional level. I shall say that the ESA will take stock of the findings from this workshop. I hope that we will have some interesting discussions to plan and design future activities. We are convinced that there is a real benefit in understanding and studying and demonstrating the benefits derived from the use of Sentinel data, and we certainly wish to engage and continue with this kind of studies. And that's why we defined a constant frame of activities that we call the Sentinel Benefits Observatory. Now, specifically, this is the second session within the workshop. We divided into three sessions. The first and the third one were looking at these use cases and capitalizing on the user stories. And the second session is dedicated to reflect upon what are the processes that lead to the uptake of Copernicus-based solutions from public administrations. The emphasis, let me recall, is on the use and the usability of Copernicus-based solutions or equivalent by public end users. And this is just a recap of the timeline for this morning. We will, the core session will be animated by NEREUS, and we propose to have some reflections about the challenges and the opportunities for the public authorities to uptake the solutions. And the agenda is very dense, so with this I just hold back the floor to Jeff to introduce the second speaker.
Is it possible to show the video? Yeah,
the Sentinel Benefits Study investigates how satellites are benefiting citizens' lives, spanning several countries and regions. In so many different sectors, for so many different people, supporting a thriving economy, protecting our environment, making better laws, driving innovation, enabling better science, contributing to our daily lives, rooted in real-life experiences, derived from a wealth of cases, built on the understanding of all actors in a full value chain. SeBS provides a wealth of information that can be useful for a variety of stakeholders. By collecting people's stories, what SeBS demonstrated is that from satellites to citizens, observations about the planet help us to take better decisions and build a better society.
So thanks to everyone who contributed to putting that together. Just gives you a little taste. You can find the video on the SeBS website, as you can find all the cases. If you search on EARSC and SeBS, you'll find it. So firstly, to kick off this session, I want to introduce MARIT Unseth. MARIT is not with us, but is with us remotely in Paris. MARIT is from the OECD, where she works in the Space Economy Unit, or Space Economy Forum. MARIT is a policy expert in science, technology, and innovation, and particularly evaluating the effects of public policy linked to space, which are very much at the heart of the work that we're doing. So I'm very pleased to welcome MARIT with us today, and to give the floor to you, MARIT, please.
Thank you, Jeff, for this introduction. Can you hear me, everyone? Greetings from Paris.
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, okay. So just a tiny bit of background on the OECD and why it's active in the space sector. So the OECD represents, I think, some 38 governments across the world, mostly higher income democracies that cooperate on economic and statistical data and to improve government policies. So it's really about, well, we call it better policies for better lives. It's really an evidence-based approach to policymaking, and the OECD Space Forum has been working on this now for more than 15 years. So today I will bring a kind of international perspective to this discussion. I will, of course, mention the benefits of using Earth observation very briefly, but I will focus specifically on barriers for uptake in public organizations, specifically when it comes to economic and kind of statistical administration. So next slide, please. So first of all, I mean, I would give a shout out to all the organizations that have worked to improve the access to data and to information on Earth observation in the last year. So we have much more observations than before, much more higher quality observations, many more satellites, more performant sensors. And also, I mean, there has been targeted efforts in Europe and in North America to have more information on the benefits of this information, especially as Jeff just mentioned, the EARSC studies. So, I mean, from a public safety point of view, the most mature applications are improving the quality of public services while also ensuring more efficient operations. And this saves lives and money and also improves well-being. So next slide, please. But we also know that all of this data has clear benefits also when it comes to just improving how things work within an organization. Uptake seems to be concentrated in a small number of expert agencies. And this is valid at all levels of government. So not only kind of central government, but also regional and local government. So even at the central level, you will have high uptake in a small number of specialist agencies, which also tend to represent the highest demand for Earth observation data. So I think according to the latest EARSC survey on the market of Earth observation data and services, I would say that, if I remember correctly, it's like 86% of that market is non-commercial market by different types of international, national, and kind of regional actors. So there's definitely a high demand for certain types of Earth observation data, but when we look at this type of free open source data, and when we look at downloads in order to kind of track users, the story is a bit different. So on the graph here, you can see users and downloads from Copernicus and from Landsat. And the biggest users will typically be academia, in both cases, research and academia, and then you may also have some kind of commercial downloaders, typically high mass commercial downloaders, and we don't really know what happens with that data afterwards. So of course, we don't have the right categories, so we don't really know what is hidden between these different use categories, but it could be presumed that government organizations are not that much represented when it comes to downloads for this type of data products. We still need much more information, but for instance, when it comes to Landsat studies on the value of their satellites, so kind of willingness to pay studies, you will see that some federal organizations are willing to pay a lot of money for each piece of information, whereas most users are much less willing to pay, meaning that, I mean, they find this information interesting, but not necessarily essential for daily operations. So next slide, please. So this gives us some indications on the barriers of uptake. So, I mean, there are three different types that I've listed here. So you have the kind of internal barriers within organizations, within public organizations. Again, doesn't really matter which level they are at or where they are in the world. These barriers tend to be quite similar. So it starts with user reservations, limited awareness about capabilities. And then there are more kind of basic limitations, but which are still very important, such as quite simply poor IT infrastructure and an inadequate internet connection. I mean, of course, this is more valid in other parts of the world, but even there are parts of Europe where the internet connection may not be adequate for this type of kind of high volume operations. Because we have to remember that the use of Earth observation data at this level is really about digital government. For instance, before this presentation, I decided to consult the kind of geospatial user groups at the OECD itself. And one of them mentioned that the IT infrastructure at the OECD is not adapted to their analysis, so they will have to use external cloud services, and this is very expensive. So, I mean, we have to look at all types of barriers. So when we then move on to what we call external barriers, so these are the ones kind of beyond the powers of organization. The first one, really on a macro level, is just access to qualified personnel. And this is something that is typically listed in all kinds of end-user surveys, that they have difficulty finding qualified personnel. And this will be, again, much more pressing for public organizations without really the funds to pay if needed. The second point is really on the kind of external barriers, is the limited availability of other types of enabling data. So, for instance, we need more high-quality ground data. So a typical example would be economic and administrative surveys in developing countries, especially, or even field surveys, because this data is needed to validate satellite observations. So without this kind of ground data validation and just quantifying the uncertainty in these observations, it's hard to build trust in expert user communities. One example is quite simply when the hole in the ozone layer was first observed by satellites in the early 1980s, an expedition still had to be sent to the Antarctic to kind of verify this in person. So the need for ground observation is something that shouldn't be ignored. Also, I mean, it's the cost of these, it's quite simply the cost first of, for instance, the cloud storage services, as I already mentioned. That can definitely be a barrier. And then quite simply, there's the cost of satellite data themselves. So this is, of course, much more valid when it comes to commercial solutions. But these 2 points show that, I mean, that may affect the demand for such services if these costs decrease. And then the third group of barriers that I just put down here is quite simply potential limitations of satellite data themselves, especially at the regional and local level. There may be other more appropriate solutions, and that is just something that we have to take into account. Satellite imagery and satellite observations have some very specific benefits, but the decrease in cost of technology and of miniaturized technology means that drones are also becoming more performant, and that may be another better alternative in many cases. So building on these limitations, we can expect uptake to be stronger in disciplines and geographic areas with poor data quality or with limited availability of data. And also because user trust issues of poorly adapted satellite data, that they're poorly adapted to the needs of operational agencies. We may expect to see that satellite data continue to be used as a complementary data source, but not one on which you base kind of executive decisions, which explains why you have such high download stats in research communities, where they are more flexible with kind of uncertainties and with timeliness of data. So we do expect further cost reduction, both in data storage and processing and in commercial data products. So all this may evolve, but we still need to be realistic about future prospects, especially when it comes to limitations on the availability of skills. So next slide, please. So this is quite a busy slide, but it's an illustration on the availability of skills. We've published this figure in our latest Space Economy in Figures publication, and it shows the relationship between supply and demand of selected space-related skills in OECD countries, with data mainly from 2019 or earlier in some cases. So it shows that Northern Europe and Korea in particular, so the countries to the right on the slide, have sometimes quite a significant shortage of several EO-related data science skills, such as geography, computer programming, and digital data processing. So we should expect a continued struggle to get access to skilled personnel in the near and medium-term future, which will be a significant barrier to uptake in the sector. But I mean, with all these caveats in mind, there are still several things that we can do. So next slide, please. So I mean, I've divided this kind of options in two groups. First, the kind of public sector user communities, and then just the providers of data. So for public sector users, I mean, there are several examples, multiple examples of successful data products. So the first thing to do would be to improve the diffusion of existing data products to other similar governance services, either at the national level or even at the international level if we're talking about open access data. So if similar services with similar needs, similar kind of problems should be able to use the same type of services. And this kind of, so this diffusion would be a kind of low-hanging fruit. Now, if the issue is a problem of access to commercial data, then different government services within the same country could explore possibility of coordinating data procurement contracts and negotiations so that more services get access to this type of very specific and perhaps higher resolution data and more timely as well. So that is something to explore. Obviously, more knowledge sharing is needed across government. That is, that is, well, we all know this, but still efforts need to be kind of renewed on this. And the last point here is how youth communities may consider consolidating specific kind of methodological and calibration needs and issues. And when I talk about user communities, I think about, for instance, the United Nations Statistical Division have multiple expert groups, and you would there be able to kind of reach a very specialized, high impact community of users that would be able to kind of easily communicate what is lacking and what they need. So that could kind of make this communication more effective and also more efficient. So second, data providers also have a role to play in improving uptake. At this point, it seems that uptake is less about availability of data, but more about communication and then other enabling factors. So from a communication standpoint, it is perhaps time to lower user expectations about EO applications and perhaps rather target very specific user groups like the ones I mentioned before that had the most to gain from using these applications. And this also includes reporting transparently about necessary IT infrastructure, what is needed to actually make the most of it. And providers may also try to enable further uptake by improving access to training data, may try to work directly with representative user communities to address specific issues such as uncertainty, biased estimates. So this could involve developing standards for quantifying and disclosing uncertainty, reconcile statistical classifications and typical features of Earth observation, et cetera, et cetera. And finally, I mean, this is a long-term investment choice for users. So they must be certain that these observations will continue in the future so that they don't just invest in human skills and infrastructure and then suddenly they don't have access to this data anymore. So there must be long-term trust and certainty about future operations. And I think, yes, just next slide, please, just for further information. So we have treated and looked at the value of satellite data in our forthcoming publication on the economics of space sustainability. We have two chapters with end user surveys. The one looks at end users in Italy, and the other one, quite interestingly, looks at end users in commercial sectors, and they look at the gap between expected value and enacted value. So what value they actually get out of it, and how this then affects uptake in the longer run. And the figures and findings from this presentation is mainly based on our research for the latest space economy figures. So with this, I thank you very much for your attention, and don't hesitate for questions.
Thank you very much, Marit. A lot of things there that resonate with what we will hopefully be talking about as we go on. So I will just give I'll try and be very quick presentation on a bit more on SeBS, and particularly to introduce you to the topic for today. So firstly, I think through the videos, through what we've talked about, SEBS is complementary to the large cost-benefit top-down studies. It's a bottom-up study. We've analysed over 30 cases now, all using Sentinel data, which is the objective, and with committed support from what we call the primary user, whether they're public or private. There's a sound methodology which is published, it's available, you can find it on the website, which can be applied, and maybe we can apply it in a wider sense as well. And then taking advantage of the fact that we have a number of cases, we've looked at cross-cutting analysis to see what are the similarities and differences. And then finally, transversal analysis, which is where we come in today. So the methodology, just two key elements about the methodology. One, it's a bottom-up, as I've said, so it's along a value chain. We start off with a single product or service. We look along the value chain of the primary user, other beneficiaries, and then society to come up with the, whoops, sorry, how do I go back? No, there we go. So the benefit to society from deriving from the use of the Sentinel data. And then the other key point is that while we started off looking at economic benefits, we found as we went on that by comparing across different cases, that the benefits, a lot of them were appearing in ways which were very hard to put an economic value upon. So they became qualitative benefits. And so we then divided into 6 domains. So we analysed for the benefits in the economic terms, in environmental terms, in regulatory terms, in innovation and entrepreneurship, science and research, so in a much broader sense, not just in the domain that we're talking about, but that the information derived can enable research on a wider basis. And then finally, the societal benefits. So the first one of those is in economic terms, the others are in qualitative terms. Maybe they can be quantitative, but they're not in euros. And so just to emphasize that, looking across different cases, we can see that very different applications, but in Ireland and in Belgium, the different cases are enabling different organizations and different parts of organizations to work together. In Sweden and in Greenland, there's a strategic benefit coming from the use of the data. In Greenland, for the protection and the keeping open of the life in Greenland through the ice. In Sweden, through a richer economy for the country. And better regulation cuts across many of the cases. But we wanted to go further. So rather than just looking across different cases, different domains rather, different applications, we limited ourselves to 3, but 3 domains where we had multiple cases. So this came down to highways management, it came down to forest management, and lake water quality management. And you can see the cases, relevant cases there. And so what we did was look across these, and we started to understand, or wanted to understand, we have cases for highways management in Italy and Norway, and one coming along in Portugal. Why are other countries? What's the situation in other countries? So you have Sweden, an example, which is using the Sentinel data in a limited degree. You have Austria, which is researching its use. You have other countries which are examining the possibilities. Why is it that some have taken on the technology and others haven't? And that led us to think about this small model, which I want to leave you with. I'll go into and explain a little bit further, as to what are the stages of adoption of a new service, particularly in a public authority. I think it applies to any, a large company as well, but we were thinking particularly about public agencies. So the first step is the rationale for change. Why? What is the reason for wanting to use it? It can be the geography, It can be the governance or the administration, which can be positive or negative factors. All of these can be positive or negative. The culture in the organization, the legal framework under which the organization is working. The second step is to identify and to bring on board a trusted agent for change, somebody who is reliably informed on the use of the technology. And that may be through space awareness of what space can provide. It can be the presence of an industry, a company looking to sell a service and trying to inform a public authority or a private company. And then a really important factor, the EO champion. And so in so many cases, we've found ourselves working with the EO champion. But then in some of the cases, the champion changes or disappears for different reasons. And we're left, well, how do we carry on? So the EO champion is very, very important. Raising awareness, so spreading out from that EO champion, building trust in the hierarchy, making sure the expertise is available in order to introduce the new services. Experience, some pilot cases. The fourth step, evaluating the potential solution. And here we realize that the methodology that we have for SeBS, which is mainly an operational example, could also be used ex ante in order to evaluate what the potential could be. But there we have to be very careful. I'll come on in a moment, because the findings in one country and in one case are not just transferable to another one. Sometimes you may have a direct transfer, in others you may not. So you need to be careful about how you apply it. So moving on to adopting the solution, the institutionalization, as I talk about it, of the case is a process that has to take place. And then these other factors which come in, which determine the success of how the solution is adopted, which might be through digital platforms can play a strong role, the innovation capacity of an organization, internal centers of excellence. We'll hear about a case, hear about an example of that in a minute. And then one that MARIT evoked, and which we firmly believe is also very important, is this network of experts. So a network of experts, not Earth observation, not space, but forest managers or highway managers or those responsible in environmental agencies or other for lake water quality management, and of course others. And we feel that this is a very strong method whereby, a tool, whereby the use can be increased. So just to conclude and discuss, I said I had to be very quick, and to throw out for you to think, reflect upon, and maybe bring into the discussion earlier, does this model seem familiar to you? If you've been involved in uptake or use of services, what benefits have you found? In what ways does this model reflect your own experience? I've talked with a few people over the last few days about that. And are the factors missing which we develop? And I don't think we've said, but I will say it now, that the results from these 3 sessions, the 3 workshop sessions, the workshop, will help feed us into the transversal report that we will publish hopefully before the summer. Okay, thank you. So at this point, I want to introduce ROYA AYAZI. ROYA will chair a small panel of experts coming from regions and from the industry as well. I'll let ROYA introduce her panel, but just to say, NEREUS is the network of European regions of using space technologies. It's an organization which has done a lot to help promote and raise awareness of the services that companies here can provide. And we look very much to having a discussion. Thank you. Roy.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks for the slides.
Okay.
There's a micro there for you, the
Okay.
white, and there's another micro for the panel.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, and good morning, warm welcome to everyone. Thank you to EARSC for inviting us and having this exchange. We looked with great interest at the SEBS study, and it was also very relevant for the Copernicus initiative when we did the uptake to look into how can we better look at the benefits and also explain to our partner regions where they are. I like to ask our panel to the floor. The colleague from Azores, please come to the floor. DUARTE, Dakota. I kindly ask the representative from Bretagne region, the colleague from Veneto region. We will have the remote presentation, but Mirko, please join us on the floor. And Marc Tiondreau, you work with our partners, an old familiar, and your region currently chairs and has the presidency of the network, and we will be very glad to have our annual symposium this October in Occitanie. Just 2 seconds. I had made some slides to introduce, can I have them again? To introduce briefly the panel and to say who we are. No, that's not mine. Okay. We currently comprise of 22 regions, and I put them on the slide. Maybe you find yours, because I think that our networks are complementary, that your companies are often also based in one of our member regions. And in NEREUS, I was asked to say very quickly, and I will also ask my region to say very quickly who they are and what they stand for. And NEREUS is interregional cooperation partnership, and it's about bringing Copernicus to regional ecosystems. It's embedding it into the public policy that the regional authorities are responsible with. And I just want to say one word on Copernicus for Regions, our flagship initiative, and I thank also many EARSC members who had contributed to the collection. We will soon have a new call, we're working on it, and we'll be very, very glad to have you mobilize your local authority and bring new experiences and new approaches. We published recently the e-magazine Copernicus for Regions, where you have a good portrait on what is going on. With this, I thank you. And I'd like to move on to our first partner. But before maybe we make one round, say in 1 or 2 messages when we have been invited to give our perspective as public users, as regional and local authorities. What does your region stand for? Maybe Duarte, you can start. Brief introduction of the Azores.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much, ROYA, and I would like to thank the organization as well for inviting us to be here and share about what are our perspectives, what's happening in the Azores. So, in a few moments, I will deliver my presentation. But for now, I can say that it's easy to speak about space in the Azores, because everything is ready to be done. Some things are already going on, but from this perspective of the public services and the use of Earth observation data in the public services, almost everything is to be done. So we are a very small region in the middle of the Atlantic, but we think we have some opportunities, and that's why we are present here to share our vision and to look forward to exchange with all of you. Thank you.
So hi, I'm Anna Sanchez and I'm from Brittany, and I'm in IRISPACE. It's a regional institute for space innovations, and for the users we have a platform, a regional Copernicus platform, that help to interact with the future user and potential users, and that help a lot for helping the people to know how to use and to know if they can use space data. So that's what I'm going to present.
Indeed, I'm not a representative of any region as such. I am more on the offer side than on the demand side, and I will take the opportunity of this panel to present what are the barriers we can see here in order to make this properly this bridge between the demand and the offer. But
I just step in because the presidency where Marc's company is based holds the presidency and is an important region on our network. It's a very, very vibrant space ecosystem with an administration that intensively works with companies and makes enhanced efforts for uptake and supports strongly the interregional cooperation in this domain.
That's true, and Occitanie is very well involved in space globally, of course, because also of the presence of big industrial actors in the region, Airbus being the first one, of course. But even in Occitanie, I can tell you that several times I am asking the representative of the regions to consider that what Earth observation can provide are really operational services and not only R&D. And I don't want to discuss with the directorate or the people in charge of R&D at region level. I want really to go and discuss with the people in charge of land management, of agriculture policy, water management. We have really to address the operational people and tell them that we have operational solutions which can be useful in their decision-making process for the benefit of the citizens. That's it. First message.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, public demand is the key word, and we are now viewing it really from the perspective of the user. I like to give the floor to the colleague from Veneto, Carlo Massetto. Are you with us? Yes, you can hear me? Okay, Carlo, maybe I will make the bridge with you, so you say maybe one or two words, what is Veneto, something about the ecosystem Veneto, and maybe then you can really go into your presentation and share your experience as a public administration. Carlo Massetto works for the cartography department in Veneto region, and what is so interesting about this department, it's unique in Europe. It has really an overview of the whole satellite imagery and satellite data and services that are used by the Venetian public administration. It goes through this department. So you are really an entry and a key reference for your colleagues across sectors. Please, Carlo, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Roya. Yes, I want just to highlight that our department is in charge of update, as you said, cartography and remote sensing data for the whole region. And we analyze basic territorial information, collaborate with the other regional structures to pursue an effective land management. And so we are in charge especially for to be a warrant to have cartographic updates for all the uses. I would like to spend a few words about space economy in Veneto that is very active, both on the side from the upstream sector, because we have several companies that are working and produce a lot for the sector, and also for downstream sector. We are trying to bring the benefits of satellite data inside of our structures. So I would like to explore better with this presentation how we are using satellite data and in order to reach our aims as a functional department. First of all, I want also to bring the greetings from Mrs. SALVINA SIST that today couldn't be here. She is my director, the director of Special Planning Department in Veneto region. Due to her urgency needs for her role, unfortunately, she can't be here today, and I will be the substitute for this presentation. Okay, we can maybe proceed with the next slide, please. Okay, first of all, I would like to highlight what is the background and the strategic role of the Earth observation at a regional level. We have during the recent years we had some technical driving factors that undoubtedly open the availability for the users and for the citizens to the use of satellite data. Progressive technological development with the increase in data availability and the number of satellites, as well as the improvement, the constant improvement of spatial and radiometric resolution, brought the opportunity to make this data relevant and strategic for the spatial planning department, but also for the other functions of other departments of the regions. There is also an important factor that is capacity building. Is extremely important to have to use correctly this data, to have the right knowledge and expertise in how to use and manage this data. I would like to underline that I'm working in an apartment where we have several technicians that are really skilled and trained in the use of Earth observation, but and this can be something to discuss later. There is a gap generally between specialized technicians and other technicians that maybe don't have the knowledge to integrate the benefits from geographical data and satellite data in their roles. However, the fast evolving territory dynamics needs to have a quick answer from the side of a public sector, and special information. So starting from spatial data infrastructures are a key to support concretely in the decisions that policy advisor need to take, and in order to have effective data-driven decisions and pursue a more efficient territory policy management is really important to integrate all the information coming from different sources in order to bring also positive effects on citizenship and the business sector. Next slide, please. Yes. We experienced and we are experiencing right now several benefits deriving from the Earth observation data and the spatial data infrastructure. I want to bring them together because I think is important to consider, first of all, Earth observation data as primary geographic data for the territory, and not to consider it something separated from the background of spatial information, because sometimes it happens that in some context this source information can be seen maybe from not technician staff as something that are not strictly correlated. But we can have an overview about the benefits we can get from this integration and the use of Earth observation data. We can have a better and reliable spatial planning at different scales, starting from a regional scale, our scale, but also at the municipality scale. And the possibility to have always update information, allow to reach a better, more efficient policy management, and can also be attractive for the companies with the creation of new services and new business. And besides this, can also lead to have an effective, sorry, the previous slide. Okay. Yes, thank you. Can bring it to have an efficient collaboration between private and public sector, and also can contribute to reduce costs in monitoring actions, for example, or eliminating or reducing on-site inspections. Can play also an active contribute to disaster prevention and to achieve the goals from Sustainable Development Goals Agenda.
Carlo, one question. You
yes.
brought the list of users, and we have heard this morning also others. You have been with your director in discussions with other departments, also with political decision makers. Which kind of, or if you think of the discussions you had, what were convincing arguments? What, from the whole list that you present us, where would you say somebody who's not directly working with you every day, that is working really in another department, has another vision, another maybe also regulatory environment, what were from the list you gave us, so key drivers to convince them?
I think the most important thing is the possibility to update easily data that are necessary for effective land management, and also to bring an evidence to give importance to decisions that are taken after to analyze the data. I think this is undoubtedly a key message. Can be seen as a mainly source to better shape regional policies. I would say this is really important. And also, of course, the reduction of costs compared to traditional methods. Just think, for example, to update some thematic map that in the past required on-site inspections. Now with satellite data, but also data from, for example, aerial images, with advanced techniques like deep learning or machine learning, can be really a strategic key to reduce costs. Okay, we can proceed with the next slide. I think yes, thank you. In the next slides, I show you some examples of application in the domain of observation we developed in these years. Satellite data in the domain of land management can have several applications. For example, in the mapping of urbanized areas, analyzing the change detection throughout the years in land cover map for from our side, the most important is the urban category, in order to be monitored to avoid, for example, also the soil consumption. Or we are using satellite data in order to have an effective forestry management. For example, we use it to detect crashed area trees when
Carlo,
terrible windstorm.
Thank you so much for this illustrative examples, but time flies and we have another three speakers. We have now to come to an end. Maybe one sentence. Do you feel you have shown these examples? In the preparatory discussion we had, your region is also a border region. Could be interesting to have procurement with other regions. Do you think you are well prepared for this?
Yes, I think there is still some work to do, because nowadays there is knowledge about technical specification needed to supply of data and remote sensing service. But what is lacking is a national specification and a shared procurement process among regions.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Maybe we discuss this with the other partners, because this is a subject that concerns us all. And I like to give the ball to Eduardo da Costa from the Azores. You are from a region spreading in the Atlantic over 9 islands. You have a regional space strategy that puts one of its priorities on the use of Earth observation data for maritime purposes. It would be interesting to hear your experiences and also if you feel fit for procurement.
Okay, thank you, Roya. I'll try to do it in 5 minutes. I have a presentation, maybe. Can I speak there? Or?
Yes.
Okay, I think it's just... Sorry. Okay, now I'm ready. So once again, good morning, everyone. First of all, let me tell you that probably some of you are thinking, what is this guy doing here, coming from a small rock in the middle of the Atlantic like an alien? So I'm here because we in the Azores, we believe that we have some specific challenges that are at the same time opportunities for our partners and for companies. And I would like to share those challenges and opportunities with you and try to get some insights and some help from your side. So, like I told you, we are in the middle of the Atlantic, just halfway between Europe and the United States. And all began in 2008 when ESA decided to install a tracking station in one of our islands. The southmost island is Santa Maria Island. And with that decision, we changed our vision about the space sector and the opportunity. We saw the opportunity maybe of doing something in the Azores concerning giving a contribution not only for the national space strategy, but also for the European space strategy. So we hold a very large economic exclusion zone of around 17% of the European Union exclusive economic zone. We are spread along 9 islands with around 237,000 inhabitants. We are very small, we are an outermost region, but we believe we have our opportunities also in the space sector. So, considering this, in 2022, we have approved our regional space strategy, like Roya told before. And this space strategy is based on the vision of making the Azores the Atlantic, or an Atlantic hub for space. This space strategy is based in 5 priority areas. Don't worry, I will not go in depth in each one of them, just focusing on the first one. That is related with what we are doing here today. That is the development of the downstream sector, space applications based on space data. We also pay very close attention to the third priority area that is related with the promotion of access and return from space. Basically, because, once again, our strategic position in the middle of the Atlantic and the conditions, the geographical and geostrategical conditions that we have to offer to Europe a node of access and return from space for small launches and small vehicles. So let's go ahead. Like I told you before, talking about space in the Azores is quite easy because we have almost everything to do. So we are starting right now, and we have identified these key sectors for the development and the implementation of Earth observation applications. Of course, the first one, sea and fishery. I told you before, we have lots of sea around us, so we have lots of opportunities in this sector. Also, the renewable energy sector, agriculture and forestry, sustainable tourism. The tourism sector suffered a huge growth in the last 5 years in the Azores. We were not prepared. We are very well known about our natural resources that are already suffering from the huge massification of tourism in the past 5 years. And we see here a very nice opportunity to implement Earth observation applications and strategies to mitigate and to plan furthermore this sector. Also, because we are islands, volcanic islands, we are very focused also on the risk management sector concerning these worries that we have. Just in 1 minute, 2 or 3 examples that what has been going in the Azores. 2 or 3 projects that in one side shows our capabilities, what we have in terms of research and development in the academia and also in the Air Center, that is an international research center that it's based in the Azores. The MARIT project, it was a project funded by European Union funds. It was developed in a PCP approach. It produced very good results, but unfortunately, no leverage was outcome from the regional public services. Also, this project, the marine debris monitoring included in the Azores Eco Blue project, was promoted by the Air Center, the Atlantic International Research Center, I'm sorry, with very good results in the Azores, but once again, no outcome was brought from this project from the public administration. Just one more example or two. This project of monitoring invasive algae in the coastal of our islands was a project delivered by the Air Center and the University of the Azores. It is a very important matter for us, but also, once again, when it reaches the step, okay, this is almost done, let's pick this and let's move on. Once again, it was not possible to move on. One last project. Okay, we can discuss that later if you don't mind. This last example, the Forest AZ, was a project, this is ready, this is an application that is ready and was delivered to the public administration in the forest management sector, and they are just not using, okay? We can try to answer the question that you already made before, later on this discussion. So, the reality of the Earth observation in the public services in the Azores, well, we have heard about this later today, this morning. It's pretty the same that we heard before. So we have a lack of expertise and resource constraints, low technical capacity. We have some good R&D capacities in the Azores that has already shown their potential, but this link between these services, these structures and the public sector, it's a barrier that we have to overcome in the future. What are we doing? We have created in 2022 a small advisory working group called the AZ-EO Working Group. It was running well. We had the first meeting. It's comprised of public service authorities, academia, investigation and research centers, some companies, national and regional companies. But in the end of 2022, the government fell down because the budget for 2024 was not approved. Okay, we went for elections in February. We are restarting the process of creating the group again, because now some of the members are different people, so we had to restart again. And we have identified these key features that we have to work together and try to deliver a strategy to answer your question and several other questions that we have, just to try to break this barrier between what we can do, what we want to do, and what the public services are aware and ready to receive and to leverage in the Azores. So, thank you very much. I hope to see you all in the Azores in the future, and I'm pretty much available for all your questions. Thank you very much.
Interestingly, we have today quite a maritime panel. Veneto is a very strong maritime region, also with a large port. The Azores goes without saying, over 9 islands. And I'm very pleased to give the floor to Ana Sanchez L'Oficial from Brittany region. Brittany, you have many maritime players. You are from linked to close to one of them. And we are very interesting to hear your experiences in the collection for Copernicus for regions. Your region submitted most experiences, so your stakeholder activities are very broad. Please.
So yes, I'm Anna and I work at IRISPACE. So it's the Innovational Regional Institute for Space Innovation. And in IRISPACE, we work on supporting the development of space technology and application in Brittany. And we are based in 4 pillars: research, training, innovation, economic development, and uses. And that's why I'm here today. And we can see that in uses we have a problem communicating with the users, the end users, and that's why in IRISPACE we developed the Copernicus Regional. So Copernicus Regional is a platform, and it's a regional initiative to promote the use of data from Copernicus and other Earth observation data, and we're here to provide assistance, support, and networking to use the data, and to initiate and support the co-construction of application between the providers and the end users. And to do this, first we need to understand what are the needs of the users and to help them to formalize their needs and to see if satellite data can answer to the needs. We're also trying to help and train the public sector to use the data, to understand what are the tools they can use and how they can extract information from that. And we also are here to link, what I'm saying, the providers and the end users to co-construct together and to really adapt, because we think it's really important to give the end users tools that they really can use and they can adapt to the daily work, and not just a product, but really a product that it's made for them and answers the way that they work, and that's why we found it's important to do. So Copernicus Regional, what I'm saying, is a web platform that was founded by the FPCOP, and thanks to this European program, we developed a web platform that you can see here. I put the Sentinel-2 data, and this platform, it can show different data from Copernicus, but also online services, and they integrate local data. from Brittany, so we can show the public services how to use it and what can they do with the data we are. Thank you. Thank you. And so this platform was made from 2018 till now, and now we have a platform that it's still updated and online that you can access if you search for Copernicus Regional. And thanks to this platform, we had some feedbacks from users, and we have workshops and webinars where we expose and we show this platform to different public authorities so they can use it and know what it's available, and then work with providers. And so we are a way to help the acculturation of public authorities, to help them train and to co-construct. So this platform helps us to have a lot of action with communication in local papers so people can know this platform. We also work with different companies of Brittany companies so they can put their products in a freemium way so the potential user can see them. We also try to be at the beginning of the training and really go to high schools and universities to show people how they can use Earth observation data in the future. And we think that's really important. And from one of the freemium products, Tidal S2, that it's a product of vegetation in the coastal areas, there was a project about the coastal vegetation. And it was a Litosat 2, a pilot project that was made between research institutes and high-tech imaging company, and they worked together to really build this product that it's Litosat, and they can show like the variation of vegetation depending of the season. And this tool was really made together with the regional park, the Parc Régional d'Armorique, and they work together to really have a product that they can use on a daily basis. And for us, it's really important that we have this type of project because the end users really show and say what they need and how they need it with the tools they have. And so this is okay. So if you need more information about the project of Litosat between the company and regional authorities, we can talk about it later. But for us, what is really important is to co-construct application together and to really answer the needs of the users and to give them tools, not only products, but products that they can use practically in the daily work. Thank you very much.
So you work directly with the public user. Actually, when I saw the presentation this morning from the lady from OECD, and she said local and regional authorities are not in or very little represented in her statistics for downloading the data. I thought usually it's not the public user, the administration, the forest department itself, but they have someone like you that works with them and, let's say, shapes the service to their need.
Yes, so we help them to find products that already exist and can be shaped for them. But in the platform, you can see all the data, the different data in Copernicus Regional, but we decided not to put an account, not to create an account to see the data. So one of the problems is that we don't know who is seeing the data, who is working with the platform. We decided to do this because we think that making them create the data, it limits the use of the platform. So that's the problem. We don't really know who is using it, and if it's public authorities, education, and so we choose to do this, but we don't know who is using it.
But you are in touch with some
authorities
from Brittany with whom you really directly work and have concrete cases where you...
Yes, we help them to really connect with the providers and help them to find fundings for projects, to work together on new projects.
Thank you. Mark, you had some experiences from public user. Duarte works himself in the public administration in the Azores. The colleague from Veneto is in the cartography department, and Anna is more a research player. Now we get the commercial actor. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Roya. And indeed, I will not use any slides because I want to take benefit of the presentations made before in order to raise some points which deals with the barriers we are facing for bridging this gap between the local demand and the local offer. And I would just like to insist on two elements. The first one is the continuity of service. I think that the main benefit that Earth observation can bring to local users for helping them in their decision-making process is the fact of being able to give a good picture of the thematic which is addressed at the territory level, be it water management, forestry. Several examples have been given there. And not only to get the picture one time, but to see the evolution over the time of this picture, depending on the policy, the new policy taken at regional level. I think that the most important benefits of Earth observation is to build up a kind of thermometer which is reliable over the time, meaning you can compare with the same instrument what is the efficiency of the policy which has been taken at one time, and to see what are the impact of this policy. And for that you need a continuous service. It's not a matter of project. You make a project one time and then forget the project and nothing happened at the end. I think that what is absolutely key is to be sure that there is a structure whereby service providers, indeed that's typically what industry is missioned for, service providers can ensure the perennity of service over the time and provide periodically the right information to the right people in charge of responsibilities at regional level. That's typically our challenge. That means that the regional authorities must be prepared not only to finance one project for 1 year, but must be prepared for buying long-term services for 5, 10 years, and to get periodic information coming out of the services. So that's the first barrier, and that's something which must be addressed sometimes at regional level. The second point is the lack of skills. We already addressed that this morning, and it's true that it's not impossible to ask all the regions or even all the cities to have specialist people which are able to specify the services and to qualify, meaning to accept the services which are provided for all the thematics of interest for the region. And here I think that I would suggest that some national authorities, including, by the way, National Space Agency, could support indeed these regional authorities to specify the kind of services they need, and also to qualify the products and the services which can be proposed by industry. That's, for me, absolutely fundamental, because the regional authorities, they know their needs, but they are not used at specifying the services which could fit these needs. So that's on the offer side. Now, on the demand side, what can we do, us, meaning industry? the specificity of these regional services is, by definition, the need for local customer intimacy. Meaning you need local service providers which are close to the users, meaning the regional or the metropole users. So meaning that the proximity is key in order to ensure a proper dialogue with the users, but also in order to get access to the local data, because Earth observation is part of the problem, I mean the solution, sorry. And we know that we need also some local data in order to have efficient services. So, and that must be provided by local service providers. But all local service providers don't have the possibility of having in-house products which can satisfy lots of thematics dealing with very different topics, water management, forestry. You cannot ask a local SME service provider to get knowledge and products able to satisfy all these needs. And that's where the industry, the downstream industry, can react. Some years ago, we created, in the frame of a European project, an initiative which was called Genius. Genius was a scheme whereby different service providers work together in order to get access to a set of products which were proposed and put at the disposal by the different members of this association, because at the end it is an association. And the idea was that each local service provider can use the products of all the other members in order to deliver operational services to the local authorities they are in touch with. And I think that's something we have to think about. And personally, at EARSC level, I would like very much to relaunch this scheme, because that could allow all the service providers which are close to the local users, which are able to get access to the local data, to take benefit of a vast amount of products, meaning processing products, which are available in our downstream industry. That's something
maybe that
to be
is
thought.
Something we can discuss with all. Also this question of linking and going also beyond your region. I think this is a really important point, not being stuck just to one local level. And I had to look at the Slido questions, and I like especially the first one. Can you share an example of co-investment, co-procurement initiative involving federal government, regional government, or a municipality? Maybe the question to all three partners, if you have had an experience in that area, or if you feel ready for such an initiative, if you haven't had.
Well, concerning this first question, I really don't have any example of any co-investment initiative involving the national, I cannot call it federal government, is our national Portuguese government and any municipality, but I know one or two cases of co-investment between one municipality in the Azores and the International Research Center that I mentioned before, for developing two specific applications for the municipality.
And more important, do you feel ready are you prepared to engage with another region, with your national level, or with another municipality into a procurement action on a space-based service, on a maritime service?
Yes, of course. But that brings me to the other questions that I was just sneaking out. That questions are related with communication. Okay, for example, in the Azores, it's a small region, once again, I have to emphasize this. And I think it's a better strategy to engage the population with these matters concerning investment in the space sector by the Azores government, if they are aware of the benefits that this investment can bring to the Azores. For example, in the tourism sector, that we are facing now a huge growth, and we are feeling a negative impact in our natural resources already. I think a good communication, I saw some examples involving daily newspapers, and also example about, yes, a broadcast of a small information video in TV news at regional level, of course. Just to finish, I think that this is very important because to have a nice or better acceptance from the population. Okay, these guys are investing money in space. Why? We have health problems, we have education problems, we have several other problems. So population has to be engaged as well with these investments and these strategies, I think.
Just perhaps to answer this question, I also would like to refer to the pre-commercial procurement approach, which has been exposed yesterday in the frame of the project, Protect project, sorry, and that can be a very good vehicle for the different regions to go together, to specify together a common need, and then to get also some support, financial support from the European institutions in order to develop this kind of services. But again, please don't forget that the problem is not only the project, it's really the long-term service provision, and you have to think long-term and not only on a project-based basis.
This is definitely for public authorities a key, really a key challenge, because what we see with all the administrations we work with, it is often really one administration is linked to a certain political framework. And I think where is a difference is in regions like Azores, where one government manages to define a strategy, gets involved different players of the ecosystem, and manages within its political mandate to create really significant structures and programs. And once they are ongoing, then you have a dynamic that's less to be stopped. And I think partnerships, like the one mentioned in the questions, but also partnerships with the HELIP structures, with the research players, with the space agencies, with federal ministries with specific interests in the domain are very strong glue keeping it on. But maybe you too could react on this. Long-term vision. What can we do to better enshrine long-term visions in regions?
Yes, like for example, the Litosat-2 project that I present, now it's a long-term because they export the product to other regions and other regional parks that use it to really follow. They have time series of how the vegetation, how everything is going in the coastal areas, and it begins with the SCO, with the Spatial Climate Observatory, and we help as an institute to really put that project together between the company that it's high-tech imaging, the user, that it's the regional park, and also other institutes of research that help them really to develop this project together. So it was just a project at the beginning, but now that we exported the project to other regions, I think, and I hope it's going to be really long term, but now it's really that. But I think one of other problem is how to meet with the future users, because the user we have in our workshops, on our webinaries, are always the same people that really already know that satellite data exists. And I think one of the problems is to go and seek for new people.
How do you see it? You work with administrations on a regular basis. Do you make the experience that when one administration made a good experience, it tends to introduce other departments, other sectors to the use of satellite data?
Yes, that's what happened with the project. Like the regional park spoke with another regional park from the south of France, the Golfe de Lion park, and now they're working together. But it's not so easy to link with other parts of the regional government, like, I don't know, forest or agriculture. It really states in like the regional park from the coastal areas that talk together, but they don't talk with other persons.
Before DUARTE, I think an important game changer is if the challenges become really existential at the local and regional level. And that we see nowadays in some regions with water. Water scarcity is so bad. We have Catalonia in our network where regions have to find a solution and have to talk about solutions. But maybe for a closing, DUARTE's opinion.
Okay, concerning the long-term approach, I agree, absolutely. One of the things that we are trying to do in the scope of the Azores Earth Observation Working Group that I mentioned before is to create a pilot project. A pilot project with this long-term perspective, because I think that one of the mistakes that was made before was not to follow up, because the key point and the key actors in all this process is people. And we have to push. We have to push. We cannot say, and we have to push not only from the demand side, but also from the supplier side. Because it's not enough to say, okay, you have here a solution, take this solution and good luck. We have to push from both sides for things to go on. And that's our vision, and that's why we are trying to maybe on one of these two sectors, sea and fishery or tourism, that are quite challenging right now. Maybe in one of them or maybe in both, let's see. We can create a pilot involving all the stakeholders on the regional and national side as well, and create this pilot project, but to be followed before pushing all the parties. I think this will deliver a good solution. And let me just to finish tell, I like the Earth observation competition approach that Geoff mentioned before. I don't know if that goes well with the Portuguese mindset, but I think it's a nice approach, and it goes well with this example of creating a pilot project, because we think that if the other sectors of the public administration, they see successful pilot projects coming from tourism area or agriculture or whatever, I think it would be a good leverage to their services as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, and I think with this we can close the panel, and thank you for your attention. And maybe two few things we take for us, and I hope we can continue the dialogue with you and also invite a panel next to come to our events, really to think we are the challenge we have, you as service provider and us as administration, is this long-term vision. Is this really creating stable and sustainable structures for promoting the uptake, and where to start and to create examples and material, communicate that a longer-term vision can be somehow emerge. Thank you.
Thank you, Roya, and thank you all the panelists for a really interesting discussion. I'm sorry we don't have more time to continue it. It was a very nice point to finish on, and I think I'm very struck by the need for some of these different, you said, structures, organizations that can help introduce and provide this long-term support and long-term vision. And that really is a challenge for all of us. And the space agencies have to be involved in that because we're coming from a space side. Unfortunately, it is a push, but this bridge is necessary, and I think we have to try and establish it as strongly and as quickly as we can. Alessandra, do you want to say a few words, or we'll keep you very quickly?
I would like to make a comment, if I may.
One very quick comment then. Yeah.
It's such an important topic.
Yeah.
Systems, also running the Copernicus data space, one of the key elements of the Copernicus program. And this is such an important discussion. I find it a bit disappointing that we really not have the chance to talk about it together. Yeah? I'm sitting here in the room and I have no chance to interact because I think a number of key elements of this discussion were not addressed. Yeah? I think there were a number of good things addressed, but some of the things are really not addressed. And that's not good for the community. We should talk about the real issues and try to change them. Yeah? I said it should be short.
Yeah, yeah.
So we have to think of a different format of this discussion. I would really hope that next time we have a different format of these events, yeah, that it is really more interactive and we can have the views from different aspects, from different sides, yeah, because then we would come to the real issues. Yeah? If I hear, for example, yeah, just one short example, we need a push by the supply side. It is totally out of the question that any company in Europe can provide a push to local communities. There are simply not any company in Europe that has the competence and the millions of euros to do that. Yeah, because in every single community, we know it, you have at least like 20 decision makers for 20 different applications that you would have to address. You cannot afford it. It's impossible to do it that way. So we have to think of other strategies, how to get the information to these people and how to make them decide. One example, I could carry on for another half hour.
But I think that we can address this in the closing panel, for example, this afternoon. It could be part of those things that we have to share with the Commission, for example.
There is also another thing important for our event.
We very much want to have the discussion. I think we're at lunchtime.
Yes, lately, the current administrations, they don't like discussions everywhere I'm running, and I'm running also to Ocean today and yesterday, which has a very good twin digital editor platform, which can be combined with your knowledge later on. It's a beautiful thing. The thing is that you're speaking only for the planetical things, and the gentleman is right. I'm going to, for 1 minute, to travel you to the stars, because we have a problem over there to our competency. You know, the Americans with this Musk, who is doing whatever he wants on this zone of the satellites, he's conquering the market and others between them. And we, who are claiming to be the best with our systems, we need we have a big conservation cost, and we don't take care of the legislative thing in a global sense. That's why we need your public communities to support us in this thing, which is discussed, the legislation, which right now is acting on behalf of the Americans. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Yuri, it would be great to continue the discussion. I hope we can find some time to do so. Alessandra?
Yeah, maybe just with such challenging statements, I appreciate the interest, and I think we started as a small panel to debate some of the findings from the Sentinel benefit study. So the initial idea was limited to the findings from the study, but we appreciate that the topic is very interesting and very urgent. There are many efforts from the side of the EC, from the ESA, but I think we should more, and this was just a first step. We proposed a panel to make the public authorities really talk about how to procure the services from their side, because in the study we saw that they were addressing some of the challenges, and they are learning also. And there should be this dialogue with the companies. This is absolutely needed. I think we can take this as a starting point. From the side of ESA, we are available and absolutely keen on discussing and promoting such discussions. I think EARSC can do very much, maybe joining forces with NEREUS.
We will be very glad also to welcome you once on our event, and also bringing your experience, your vision, what you took from such a discussion, and let it and channel it in our community. We found your reaction very, very valuable, and of course in the first panel, after you had a very long day yesterday and today, it's very difficult then to deep dive, but to see it as a starting point and to continue our discussion soon.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe to start with, maybe during the lunch break, we can start discussing.
That's a good note to close on, I think. So, bon appetit, everyone. Emmanuel?
Yes. Thank you very much for all these findings, and for sure there is a lot of next step to define and to share. We will have a break now up to 2:15 for the first session. We have two parallel sessions this afternoon. One will be a continuity of the SEBS with international perspectives. It will start at 2:15, so in just 1 hour, and we will have another session which will start at 2:30. We will be first, lightning talks about how can we support, or our project or initiative can support user uptake with the 3 perspectives. And then we will have another panel, a closing panel. So thank you, enjoy the lunch, and see you soon.